Coming up on the LCS Preview Show, we break down the first half of the summer split, reveal the ultimate fantasy sleeper, and get chatty with the pros. Don't touch that browser. The LCS Preview Show starts right now.
Next is actually going to go low. Finished off by the gold card. It's a triple kill for Froggen, and that makes things a lot harder now for Millenium.
TP Quas, TP Quas, TP. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Quas is going for it.
Oh, the teleport for Quas. 57 minutes in. Curse takes down Complexity.
Onyx going in. Candy Butter out of position. It's a bounce. Beautiful, beautiful play from Millenium.
Alltech with a few more kills. The last shot, going for the penta! He gets a penta kill! First play on 6 in the LCS. EG wipes out Curse.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the LCS Preview Show. I'm Rivington Bizen III, and today we'll be breaking down the biggest surprises and the most titanic disappointments so far this summer.
Yeah, I'm Joshua Jatt Leesman, and happy Canada Day, everybody. I'm also happy to reveal the summer's top fantasy studs and duds heading into the second half of the summer.
All right, but before the teams take their next step towards the regional playoffs in the 2014 World Championship, let's take a look back at Week 6 of the European LCS, starting with the fight between the 10-2 Alliance and the 7-5 Millenium.
Yeah, and this was actually a pretty marquee matchup based on Millenium's surging performance lately, but this play got turned around.
Surging under the turret, headstrong, Froggen kind of feels he can take initiative on this one and actually ends up picking up a few for himself.
Yeah, it almost felt like one of those times where Millenium forgot the Twisted Fate was in the game. Diving onto the turret like that, 3v2 with Froggen MIA, never a good decision.
And usually we've been seeing Froggen with the outplays, but Curb here playing a bit of leapfrog of his own with the distortion.
Watch how the gold card just stopped dead, went back, but then the wild cards missed. Froggen completely outplayed here. The teleport from Kevin coming in to save Curb as well.
Very great play coming out of Millenium. Still trying to go strong, and Alliance seems to bait them into exactly what they want.
Jeez, this was just Alliance having the larger gold lead and saying, Millenium, come at me. Froggen did a spectacular job this fight of zoning Creoton out of the fight, making him completely ineffective.
Forcing that decisive Baron gives them the win. And we're now on to SK versus ROCCAT. A very high-tier matchup for these guys. ROCCAT's looking to be on the rise.
SK kind of this consistent machine of a team versus ROCCAT, who had won 4 straight coming into this one, so it looked early like ROCCAT might continue. This was a very dangerous dragon though, Rib. They go low just taking it.
Very good plays coming in as they grab it. Getting out though is not the easiest. Jez is on that KO coming up, helping to pick up. It's just so hard to play against SK when you think you have the lead. Things like this happen.
The late game KO from Jez is giving up the kills to the dragon, allowed him to carry that gold lead into this stuff, and boy, did it get ugly for ROCCAT.
They were able to continue dominating through this matchup and dominating win for SK despite giving up that first blood.
Yeah.
Really great play. Millenium versus SK, our next game to highlight. JV's Morgana helping to pick up first blood as we enter onto the Rift for this game.
Yeah, and Kog'Maw was the big pick here for Candy Panda. Would he be able to get fed, and would he be able to bypass that weaker early laning phase? Early on, things were going fantastic. SK picking up a really strange extended double kill here.
Yeah, it looks good when you get the first blood, but then things start to turn around a little bit.
Kerp obviously makes so many plays. This time, he's the one on the Twisted Fate, trying to play like Froggen a little bit earlier, getting those kills in the bottom lane, but
sneaky Svenskeren.
Scary.
Coming in, the Acathian surprise as well. SK just really able to pick up these little things that help them catapult themselves through the game.
Yeah, a little bit worried about the Fed Kog'Maw too, with 2 kills, Infinity Edge and a Blade of the Ruin King coming into this one, but he just keeps getting locked down.
Locked down indeed. Kog'Maw, that scary pick because of your escape. Yeah, you can get the damage done when you go down, but not able to pick anything up off of that. Millenium starts to gain some ground.
Yeah, the fed Kog'Maw turned into the Kog'Maw that fed the enemy at this point. Caught Nex catching him out of position, and Candy Panda didn't have a chance.
And that wasn't the first time. You could see that they had completely coordinated those attacks from the beginning. They were just waiting for the tankiness to get in range. The extended fight showed Millenium was just stronger by this point in the game and completely was wiping out SK.
Yeah, the kicks and the Creoton giving him the win.
Millenium took advantage of that immobility. We're able to take the major team fights. Up next, we are going to have Fnatic and the super hot crew, 7-6 versus 6-7.
Yeah, really haven't seen much success from the jungle Renkar in the North American or European LCS, and he got caught out early here, which made you think Fnatic would be on the roll. 6 kills to 1 here. Super Hot Crew had other ideas.
That looked like it was it, but Fnatic said, wait, we can re-engage. And Selfie thought the same thing as well. Coming out of the social media big plays, I'm sure everybody remembers this one.
Yeah, and then the double kill with his Q plus static Shiv proc right at the end after knocking him up. That evened the game and really just gave him momentum to win. Here's the combo they were trying to pull off the whole game, though.
Glacial Fissure in that last breath, and that really was the last thing Fnatic had to say about it. Look how hard Super Hot Crew is just running through the entire team. A nice exhaust on Peke because they knew that priority target needed to go down.
Yeah, one fed Yasuo at the end of that one. Selfie making a case for himself. He was not a very respected mid laner at the very start of the split, but he's making a name for himself.
Everybody's ramping up every region, even across the pond, but with half of the summer split behind us, let's take a look at how the European table is laid out. Alliance is sitting at the top with a European LCS record of 12 wins and 2 losses. 3 games ahead of SK Gaming and 4 games ahead of 3rd place Millenium. Pretty crazy to think about. Now for more on Alliance's incredible summer split, I'd like to welcome Quickshot to the show. How you doing, Quickshot?
I'm feeling great, Riv. Excited to get the second half of the summer split underway in a super week.
I do love me some super week. So now coming into the summer split, you actually predicted that Alliance would win the European LCS. We've chatted about this before, but you didn't say they were going to set the record for the best start in European history. So I can only give you half credit.
Oh, that's not entirely fair, but half credit is enough for half of the split, and I'll accept full credit at the end of the split. But like you've already said, their 12-2 start is the best in European history, and it's actually tied with Curse, Cloud9, and TSM for the best start in the entire LCS. Tabs is playing phenomenally. Froggen is performing like the reigning MVP, and the rest of Alliance have all stepped up their game considerably from spring. They are finally putting up these super results expected of the super team led by the super mid lane, Froggen.
Yeah, speaking of Froggen, Quickshot, the spring split MVP had a record-breaking performance of his own last week against ROCCAT.
Yeah, that incredible game on Orianna. He ended up setting the record for the fastest 300 creep score in LCS history. His new record of 23 minutes and 23 seconds is more than a minute faster than Xpeke's previous mark. But as impressive as his new LCS record is, it's actually not a personal best for Froggen because during the Season 2 World Championships against the Saigon Jokers, he last hit 300 minions and monsters in just 23 minutes and 10 seconds. It's just another accomplishment in Froggen's legendary League of Legends career.
All right, well, the new king of CS speedruns and his Alliance have been the most dominating team this summer. It's not really that big of a surprise, as your pre-split prediction proves. So seeing as we're halfway through the split, I thought it was the perfect time to ask you which team has been the most pleasant surprise through the first 56 games of the summer.
So the most pleasant surprise for me is probably Millenium. I think they've all leveled up their individual and their team performances, and they've got 8 wins in the first half of the split. Keep in mind they only earned 9 wins in the whole of the spring split. Plus, with their win last week against SK Gaming, Millenium is now only 1 game back from second place. I do want to put an asterisk beside all of the pleasantry, because if you compare the numbers from Millenium's spring split start and this summer's start, you can see that Kerp and crew did okay in the spring split too, but it was their dismal 4 and 10 performance during the second half that doomed them to relegation. So if Millenium wants to avoid a similar slide during the summer, I believe they need to work on their ability to find success on other team compositions that are not pick composition based, because I do feel a little bit of a one-trick pony.
All right, so while Millenium has been a pleasant surprise, who has been the biggest disappointment for you so far this split?
Okay, so I think I'm going to have to call out 2 teams, starting with ROCCAT. Because after blasting off to such a spectacular start in the spring split, they have crashed back to earth this summer, and they've done that very hard. Not only have their wins been completely cut in half, but remember, one of those wins was a forfeit by the Wolves, and another was against Gambit, who were playing with subs. So ROCCAT could realistically have been at 3-11 right now. I just think it's been a disappointment to see overpowering crew simply underperforming this summer. They were definitely one of the most exciting and interesting teams during the last split. And their lackluster showings in summer is just reminding me of the all-Polish team MYM from last year, who also started with a bang, but failed to find the fuel to continually have explosive performances. Now, while ROCCAT is one of the few teams that are performing bad, I think Fnatic is a bigger disappointment for me. It's not so much their record or their place on the table that's disappointing, it's their inconsistency. One game, Fnatic can look like a dominating force that has won 3 straight European split championships, but then the next week they'll perform like a bottom-tier team. Take example, last week when they played against the Super Hard Crew, they got dismantled, and Super Hard Crew beat them over and over in repeated team fights. So that being said, there is some good news for Fnatic fans. After an incredible start to the spring split, Fnatic went on an epic losing streak before bouncing back to secure their 3rd straight LCS split championship. So this summer, they've got an identical record. They have a better KDA, so no one should be counting them out just yet. It doesn't exactly stop me from counting them as a little bit of a disappointment because of the fact that they're simply not playing at the level that we're expecting from them.
All right, quick shot. So let's move from the subpar to the sublime. Which player would you pick as the midseason MVP if such an award actually existed?
Okay, so I would have to give the hypothetical award to the hypothetical midseason MVP, and for me it would be Tabs from Alliance. Despite winning only his first MVP just last week, Tabs has been the key to Alliance's record-setting start, regardless of which champions or not he is playing. His positioning is great, it's superb. He's got a major impact in just about every single one of Alliance's wins. And besides being the most valuable player on his team, in my opinion, he's got the stats to merit this award. He leads the EU LCS in kills with a total of 74. He's got the highest gold per minute at 414. He's got the 3rd best KDA out of every European player. And he's done all of those stats while only dying 18 times. That is actually the 2nd fewest for any European starter. I think that if Tabs can continue to have as much of an impact for the second half as he's done on the first, Alliance are looking very good at setting a new mark for the best record in European LCS history. But they need to do it in Super Week, and we'll see if they can keep it up.
All right, quick shot. Thanks for the mid-split report card. As far as your mid-split marks go, I'm afraid I am going to have to contact your parents for a conference. I'm sorry. And with that, it's time to welcome the LCS Preview Show's valedictorian to the program. How's it going, Shocks?
I'm all amped up for Super Week, Riv.
Me too. We just heard what Quickshot had to say about the first half of the summer. When you talked to the players, what were their biggest surprises at the mid-split mark?
Well, Riv, let's start with Alliance's Wicked. The biggest surprise for him is how well Alliance is doing right now. And I quote, "I expected us to be one of the top teams and do well, but we are a lot stronger than I expected." The Super Hot Crew's Impaler, on the other hand, was surprised the most by being able to play in Wembley Arena for LCS London and getting to perform in front of his home crowd audience together with his old Dignitas UK teammate Kasing. Now in the Fnatic camp, soaz is most surprised with Alliance doing so well in the LCS, whilst xpeke was caught off guard by SK Gaming becoming and staying a top team. Finally, ROCCAT support Vander is most surprised at how the NALCS level has risen recently. And I quote, "Last split you had 2, maximum 3 teams fighting for the top spots, and now it's at least 5 teams. Very exciting to watch."
Then I always thought Vander looked smart. Now he's proven it to me. Anyway, on the flip side, what were these guys' biggest disappointments?
Well, the biggest disappointment for Alliance's Wicked were their losses versus Gambit and the Super Hot Crew because they made mistakes in planning for those games, and they definitely prepare better for the games from then on. Now, ROCCAT's top laner Xaxis is disappointed that they haven't been playing as well as they wanted to, and adds, "We've lost matches that we simply should have closed out and won." For Fnatic, it's their own performance up to now. xpeke refers to not being able to find their form in the current split. And the biggest letdown for soaz is, and I quote, "us throwing so many games."
Well, I know Quickshot agrees with soaz, but like he said, Fnatic was able to bounce back from a similar start to the spring split. Well, all right, Shocks, time for the big award, the Midsummer MVP. Who are the players giving it to?
Well, with ROCCAT's Xaxis chose Millenium's Kerp as his most valuable player up to this point. His reasoning is that it's very hard to pick just one Alliance member because they are all so good, so he goes for Kerp. And the Super Hot Crew's Impaler agreed with Xaxis on how hard it is to choose just one member of Alliance, so he capped out and he chose 2, Tabs and Froggen. In the camp of Fnatic, they split their MVP votes amongst member of Alliance as well, xpeke opting for Tabs and soaz for Froggen. And now while Wicked also couldn't make up his mind, he's giving the mid-season MVP to Fnatic's duo lane of Reckless and Yellowstar. Because, and I quote, "no matter how Fnatic performs, they can always count on their bottom lane to do well."
All right, just like we can always count on you, Shocks. Thanks for hooking us up again with all the insider information. Have a great week 7. All right, coming up right after today's edition of the LCS Preview Show, the second half of the summer split kicks off with day one of Super Week. Up first, Quick Shot's Summer Bummers take to the Rift, looking to turn their split around as ROCCAT takes on Fnatic. Then on Wednesday, the day kicks off with a battle between first place Alliance and second place SK Gaming. A win for Alliance would be their third over SK and mean they own the tiebreaker against their closest competitor. Super Week 7 comes to a close for Europe on Thursday with 5 more games, including a battle between the 3-time champs Fnatic and the team that's looking to be first to win the European title while not being named Fnatic. Now, for a look at the summer's biggest fantasy studs and wimpiest duds, let's send it over to Jat.
After 6 weeks of LCS fantasy fun, let's actually take a look at the 5 players who have made their fantasy owners the happiest. And honestly, if you were high on European players heading in the draft, like Deficio was in our Caster Fantasy League, you're probably sitting pretty high in your fantasy league standings right now, as the top 5 scoring pros all played their games from Cologne. One interesting note about the number 1 player, Kerp. He was selected with the 64th pick of fantasy drafts on average. Only Cowtard was picked as a lower mid laner in fantasy drafts that were starting. So it proves how fantasy can be a fickle mistress sometimes. Also notice how Froggen and Tabs have made this list, showing how winning games typically leads to pretty good fantasy scores. Let's also take a look at the LCS superstars who went huge in the draft, but then have not performed in the stat column. The biggest summer dud, of course, is Meteos. On average, he was the first jungler and 4th player selected in fantasy drafts, but his 196 points are the 10th highest in the jungle for junglers, meaning he should be probably riding your bench right now. The second dudliest is his teammate Balls. On average, he was the first top laner and the 10th player selected overall, but so far he's only been the 10th best top laner. Diamond is currently 3rd amongst junglers, despite being the 3rd jungler taken on average, while Darien is actually the worst top laner in fantasy straight up. And finally, there is Seraph, who was honestly the 4th most sought-after top laner in the draft, but he is 13th amongst top laners in points, meaning that his expectations were a little bit high coming into this season, and fantasy owners will be pretty disappointed, and most of them have already looked elsewhere. But I also want to give a shout-out to the fantasy viewer who correctly picked the Week 6 fantasy stud, at Enoch J. Chuang, predicted that Wild Turtle would score well this week, and while Wild Turtle did a little better than well, we'll give it properly because he used the hashtag LCS Preview and it counts. Now, if you think you got the inside track on which pro will be the fantasy king of Week 7, and you also know how to properly hashtag LCS Preview, hit us up at LOL Esports and make the pick. And while we'll have to wait to hear who you think will come up super for Super Week, we don't have to wait to hear what the pros were talking about during Week 6. It's time for this week's edition of Alt Chat.
Taco Storm said he likes your haircut, but I don't know. I don't think it looks too short, honestly. I think it's fine.
Can you get a room, you two, please?
Every single time I see funny things on the preview shit and the video with funny things where they sit here, I always think of things to like do that's funny.
I have a pool full of Diet Coke and I'm on a diet.
Yeah. Dr. Pepper. I've never had this much gold before facing an LCS here.
Okay, I've got Blade now, my god. I'm super fit, I have my Millenium gun. I'm incredibly strong, okay?
Yeah, sure.
With the Banshee's Veil, oh my god. Cork is so fast.
They're ulting Sneaky. Sneaky shit.
Johnny Boy, go beat the kill!
Whoa, yeah, that guy's got a really good KDA, alright.
I do a lot of damage in the front line, I just can't hit any of them.
I'm gonna arrow here, Oh, I think they're rotating, Go, oh, fuck! What?
Go? Oh my god, it's fine.
YOLO star.
Serve.
Fuck.
Here, the sideline. The Afro link.
Okay, we can push up mid again. We can push up mid
again. Just do the same thing again. Do the same thing again. See, we can do that again and again, and eventually we're gonna land a skill and we're gonna kill one, okay? Yeah. And then we win the game.
Good job.
I mean, I need to shave. I'm getting a neck beard, dude.
How are you getting a neck beard? You don't even have any beard. There's like 3 hairs sticking out.
Exactly. I need to shave those 3 hairs. Bump it up. Raise your eyebrows. Raise your eyebrows. Raise your eyebrows.
That doesn't have to do with
eyebrows. Very easy game. We can win. Wait.
How do we play team fights, guys? Win conditions. Clear calls, good plans.
They have good plans.
Don't dive down. Yes, I will. Dive.
Alright, good luck, guys.
Clear calls, good plan. Yes, clear calls, good plan.
Players showing that there is fun and that they also still make mistakes. They're human. It feels good when we know that happened. No. All right, last week the 4.10 patch made its first appearance in the LCS, and thanks to the latest changes, So did a few new champs. Woolite thought out the Frost Archer for the first LCS game on the 4.10 patch, while Doublelift was the first of many North American AD carries that picked Tristana. Then in the final game of Week 6, I Will Dominate energized us with the first Skarner pick of the summer. That makes 64 unique champs picked during our first 6 weeks of the split compared to the 79 at this point of last spring. But while we were a little behind last spring's pace, there was one fan that was ahead of the curve, despite the fact that we didn't even ask for picks last week. At Andres Avian sent one in, and he was right. Andre says, correctly choosing Ashe as the first champ to be picked on 4.10. Well, he didn't say that. We're saying that. That's some focus he had there. Only needed one shot. Made it count, and he nailed it right between the eyes. Now, if you think your champ select can fly as true as Andrew's, then hit us up on Twitter with your pick. Just make sure to hashtag it LCS Preview so we get it. One champ we won't be seeing this week, however, is Rengar. He has been disabled. Last week, we reached an LCS milestone as Team Solo Mid's Bjergsen became the first pro to reach 500 regular season kills in the league. Bjergsen's kills are mixed damage through the 296 of them happening last year in Europe and the 204 taking place this year in North America. This week, Peke and Doublelift look to join Bjergsen in the 500 club and become the first pros to get all 500 regular season kills in one league. A couple more things to keep your eye on. SK Gaming's NIF has 973 assists, and Curse's Special is sitting at 979 heading into Super Week. So after this week, we'll probably have 2 guys hit 1,000 assists for the first time ever. Before we get to a Super Week full of more milestones, let's go back in time 2 days as 8 North American teams accomplished something for only the second time in more than a year and a half of LCS.
Yeah.
This week's 6 highlights get rolling with the fight between 2 classic rivals, Team Solo Mid and CLG.
And they were, before this game, 1-0 against each other on the year. This game might even a thing or two out, actually. And first blood that goes to Doublelift.
Rush Hour doing a great job getting the first kill in the bot lane, but Doublelift seemed to want too much the entire time and was always there to be hooked in by Glebe.
Yeah, not really what you expect from Tristana's mainly, because Doublelift was great in the laning phase, but then poor in team fights, mainly because Glebe had him on lockdown.
And this kind of cascaded as well. The Dragon was taken there by Team Solo Mid. Where's the hook coming from this time? There it is again, on to Doublelift.
Straight from Glebe, followed by the Cocoon, and he gets obliterated. All those 259 minions Doublelift killed were for nothing.
Yeah, like Bjergsen said, if we keep throwing them out, we're eventually going to get someone.
Yeah, TSM really looked strong against CLG.
Coming out super strong in that game. Our next highlight comes from Complexity versus Cloud9, a struggling Complexity versus an inconsistent Cloud9.
Yeah, and early on, probably the first time he went a little bit aggressive on high, Meteos was there. That had to mess with his mindset, and it looked like Cloud9 was on pace to win.
But it seemed like that aggression was in the blood of everybody. Westrice continuously initiating with Shyvana.
Yeah, and you looked at this fight and saw how many things Complexity missed. Shyvana ult hitting no one.
That's true.
Bubba missing his crescendo. The flash, or the jump in by Robert Ixley as he gets headshot right here. And you look at the end of it and say, wow, Complexity still didn't lose that fight. You knew things were trouble for Cloud9 as soon as Complexity catches a good initiate.
Walking away, limping. Watch this initiation. Another one from Westrice, headstrong into the fight, not even giving C9 a chance to think about it.
Yeah, that was the good initiation, and that really marked the end for Cloud9. 10 minutes later, Complexity walks away with the win.
A very much needed win to help them move up in the standings, and we move on to LMQ versus Team Solo Mid, a highlight reel for more practically.
Yeah, the question here was going to be, can TSM hold the momentum from the COG game and take first if they were able to take down LMQ? First off, the gank from Amazing looked pretty good.
They do get that first blood. Amazing still helping the team with more cataclysms. But here comes more. Starting it off, launched into the fight by Dyrus's ulti, and they just keep reeling them in.
Yeah, great peel by Moore, but I'd say even better play by Xiao to dodge the initiation and then still get off a spectacular combo in the midst of the team fight. And if it wasn't for Wild Turtle being a god, that would have been an inhibitor for LMQ.
Big credit to slowing down LMQ in the end of that play. Another hook here from Moore. Amazing gets caught out. They capitalize.
Pretty much the same move that TSM was trying to pull on CLG earlier in the day. Amazing way ahead of the rest of the team. Could not retreat.
How about 2 more on one of the highest priority targets in the game?
Yeah, pops his Zhonya's. He's thinking, all right, I'm going to flash away. What's that?
No, you're not.
Gets caught once again. LMQ in full control. They went from a 5,000 gold deficit to victory.
Yeah, LMQ coming out very strong in that one. Faltering as well, back and forth, but coming out big there. Curse versus Complexity in our next highlight, and one of the most intense.
Yeah, may as well jump 55 minutes into the game when Curse is trying to jump into the Nexus. They get repelled quite well because of a great shockwave and good defenses by Complexity. And this is where things got a little bit crazy.
With Quas going down, there was so much time on the clocks, but here he's 8 seconds from spawning and then instantly teleports. His Complexity is just chaotic inside the base, not knowing to end or take inhibitors.
They did not have their plan together. They took both inhibitors as they were thinking about ending, and they didn't leave themselves enough time for the retreat. Quas teleported into their base.
But in a counter-strike to save himself. 2 shots, counter-striking the Super Minion to keep himself alive, and the Cavalry arrives in a 57-minute matchup to end the game for Curse.
That game, this game that we're seeing, Quas doesn't even die by the end. Pretty exhilarating to win a game like that.
Absolutely amazing play, an amazing way to end that and start off Super Week. Because of all the teams going 1-1 for only the second time in LCS history, and ironically enough, the second week in a row, the standings look exactly the same as they did heading into Week 6. That means that Counterlogic Gaming, LMQ, and Dignitas are all tied for first place with Cloud9 and TSM 1 game off the pace.
And thanks to their insane win over Complexity, Curse is currently occupying the 6th and final playoff spot, with Complexity and the next generation of geniuses playing much better than their records would indicate.
And with 14 games in each North American team's match history and 14 more to go before the start of the regional playoffs, mathematically it seems like the perfect time to get a mid-split breakdown of the league, starting with the biggest surprises so far this summer.
And as far as surprises go, I agree with Vander. The biggest surprise for me is how competitive the NALCS has become. Not only did we have our second straight week where every team went 1-1, but we have 5 teams within 1 win of first place. And if you compare this summer to the other 3 NALCS splits, you can see there's a drastic difference in the parity of the leagues. Last spring it was TSM, Cloud9, and then everyone else. The summer before that it was Cloud9, XGG, and the rest of them. And way back in the 2013 spring split, it was actually St. Vicious's Curse and Scar's Dignitas ahead of the pack, but still not nearly as much parity. And while the 2 NALCS splits were controlled by a couple dominant teams, this summer has been filled with upsets, comebacks, and the idea that any team can beat any other team on any given weekend. And it's been a very pleasant surprise. On the flip side, though, the biggest disappointment of the summer for me so far has been Cloud9. Now, I'm not disappointed that they've lost nearly as many games in half a split as they had lost in their first year, but the way they've lost the games is the more disappointing part. So far this summer, Cloud9 has had moments where they looked lost, disjointed, and sloppy, while displaying that inconsistency that we've never seen from the 2-time champs. And while it will be unfair to expect the same kind of dominance from Cloud9 that they displayed in their first 2 splits, I don't think it's unfair to expect the 2-time champs to continue to display at least the same level of team coordination we've seen in the past. Instead, Cloud9 has regressed this summer, leading to sloppy games and several losses to teams at the bottom of the standings. But on a positive note, let's talk about my choice for the mid-season most valuable player, who is Counterlogic Gaming's Aphromoo. Now, while he doesn't have the most impressive individual stats, that's not what a most valuable player award is all about, especially from the support position. The MVP is about being the guy who makes the biggest impact on his team while also sitting near the top of the standings. And Aphromoo has done nothing but make big play after big play. And he does it all while making so few mistakes, fewer than any other support in North America. And a year ago, it would have been insane to call Aphromoo the best player in North America, especially considering he'd switched roles from AD carry to support. But halfway through the summer split, that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, congrats, Afro. You got about 3 days to enjoy the midseason MVP before you have to jump back onto the Rift for day 1 of the NALCS Super Week 7. That action kicks off Friday with LMQ taking on Cloud9, a team that's trying to turn their summer frowns upside down.
Then on Saturday, Dignitas looks to beat Team Solomid for the 3rd time this summer and lock down the tiebreaker against the suddenly red-hot Wild Turtle.
And Week 7 of the LCS wraps up on Sunday with Shifter and Dignitas taking on High and Cloud9 in the finale of our 5-game set. And while we're just moments away from a super week of games, we should take a moment to look back at the super plays from Week 6, or as Alltech now has the right to call them, the Penta.
Yep, at number 5, Sneaky gets blown up as he's unable to sneak away from Kreppos Morgan.
On Dragon, still alive though.
Whoa, Sneaky
Word! That is the 3rd time this game Krepo has hit a key binding.
And at number 4, it's Wild Turtle with the fancy footwork as he picks up a double kill.
They are losing this one. It's pure chaos. Ackerman even jumps in. The Silly flashes forward in the fight. Wild Turtle can put out big damage, but can he to 3 more members? Blade of the Rune King, he gets a double kill. Wild Turtle with the orb walk comes out huge.
They think they've cut Turtle behind, but what an answer here in the duel.
Coming in at number 3, Kurt shows off some fancy tricks of his own as he hops over Froggen.
Oh, that is dangerous news here. Froggen actually going to run with the Ghost. Pops the Destiny as well. Gold card will actually lash down to the backside. Kurt, though, I think may go down. He dives in. Froggen's going to fall. Kevin CP saving Kurt. And Froggen and our cameraman completely confused by that one.
At number 2, it's Cottonex with the quick fingers as he made a pick with the kit.
Another minion wave coming in. Cottonex going in. Candy Butter out of position. Kicks and bounce. That is it. Millenium can rush and turn onto this one. Beautiful, beautiful play from Millenium as they turn this game on its head and get themselves another 3 picks.
And the number 1 play in our Penta was Altek's panic kill.
They're going to be cleaning this one up. Altek with a few more kills. A triple kill to end out the game at 7-0-4 on his first Jinx play in the North American LCS. The last shot, going for the Penta. He gets a Penta kill! First play on Jinx in the LCS. EG wipes out Curse.
All right, that's it for this week's edition of the LCS Preview Show. But before we send it over to Cologne, let's relive Curse's last hit on the Nexus.
They're losing their Nexus turrets right now.
They're gonna go for it. There's only 12 seconds left on the death timers. This is it.
I have to stop them.
10 seconds.
Complexity is headstrong on trying to defeat Curse right now with the Nexus turrets. They do finally get the inhibitor.
We can speed them. I'm coming. TP quads.
Our base.
The teleport back.
Quas is going for it.
He's in the base.
We need what's the TP.
I use it already. He doesn't have it. We're in trouble, yeah. This might be GG.
Nobody in their right mind can stop Quas.
He's trying to back. I'm trying to cancel the back.
Nobody on Complexity can make it back to base except for Robert.
Oh my god. There's 1. There's 2. Is he on the far? No. Wait a minute. No way. That's going to be the damage. 1 last hit. They stop it. Boy's in. Here's the rest of the team. This is absolutely incredible right now. Another minute passes and the game hasn't ended. Quas is on it. 57 minutes in. Curse takes down Complexity.